Hey everyone, welcome back to the World of Warcraft news, where a lot of things have happened. And a bunch of it's actually quite great. And by the way, don't fret if you see my scalp and it looks gnarly. I pulled a preach and I got a hair transplant. There's some stuff I can kind of comb over it, so it shouldn't look too gnarly for you guys. I'll be less of an eyesore in a few weeks. Okay, for World of Warcraft, a lot of stuff has happened, and I think we now have, well, more of an idea of what this expansion's general vibe and patch cycle is going to look like. There are one or two issues. Legos, brace yourself, there's something coming. And for the lore, also brace yourselves, because there's a big shot of lore coming. And for a big shot of convenience, hit up today's sponsor, dashlane.com/Bellular. Dashlane is the app that you need on any new device this year. It's awesome. Dashlane just makes your life easier by generating and auto-filling your passwords and, of course, personal info as well through its extensions. And that means you've never got to manually type in a password again, which is great because who likes doing that? It even works on phones too, so you got great security, incredible security, actually, and lots of convenience. Now, all your info is locally decrypted using your master password, so even if Dashlane servers were hacked, for the hackers, it'd be like breaking into the bank, and the bank not having the key to the vault. The hackers couldn't do anything. They've also got dark web monitoring, a VPN, and if a site that you use is hacked, they'll actually send you a security alert. So stop filling in your personal info and using unsafe, hackable passwords. Try Dashlane for free on your first device at dashlane.com/Bellular. You get all that stuff on one app across all platforms, and if you follow that link and use the promo code Bellular, you'll get 10% off too. So thanks to them for supporting our team, and with that said, let's dive into the news. Well, look, while I'm still a bit of a salty boy over the PTR's Tazavesh change from Valor Point upgrades being there to them not being there, we have just found out that the hard mode, which I don't believe is being tested on PTR, that drops eye level 233 gear. It was that sort of thing. We had references to the hard mode and stuff, but not actually hard confirmation. But no, it's there. It's on the PTR. Wowhead, of course, surfacing it up for the lot of us. Eye level 233 gear is what it drops, which is, of course, 7 eye levels more than the base 226 item level for regular old Tazavesh. And by the way, the quality text says priceless mythic. I mean, in my opinion, why not make it upgradable? I mean, as of patch 9.0.5, base mythic 0 dungeon gear is upgradable, but don't do that because it would be a terrible use of your Valor points, which of course are a seasonally capped currency. But look, it's nice to see that Tazavesh content will span beyond just normal mode raids. That is good. And of course, with it offering quite complete gear coverage, it's going to be great for loads of players. Now look, you guys know that I do not really love the whole gotta go fast format of Mythic Plus. You guys know I traditionally love and advocate for, well, traditionally paced dungeons that have more room for, say, the RP bits, alternate pacing, right? Because, you know, I'm fine for a dungeon being super, super, super long in its design. You know, it's like whatever fits the fancy of the dungeon we're doing, instead of whatever's got to fit, you know, the sort of keystone mold. So, seeing that it is dropping, you know, it is a bit shy of heroic raid loot, whatever, but I think that's great. The sort of dungeon that I'd love to see in the game is going to be relevant for more people for longer, and I think that's awesome. And for my guild, you know, we'll be blasting through the normal mode raid pretty quick, then we'll start in heroic progression, right? So with the hard mode item level of Tazavesh, well, that's just going to make Tazavesh make sense for longer, and that's great. But as somebody who also wants to get Keystone Master this season, because really, I should dive into that if I'm going to talk about the whole thing, right? I mean, it is just fair. I would love the VP upgrades to extend the usefulness of Tazavesh, you know, even a little bit more. But you know what? I'll take what I can get. Tazavesh looks like great fun. Next up, Mythic Plus, where, well, there's nerfs that are going to have the melee players thrilled. The Storming affix has been nerfed, doing less damage, disappearing when a tornado hits a player, and they're always clockwise. Isn't that great? See, always clockwise, that means there's predictability there. That means it's something people can reliably play around. So I think that's actually pretty good for gameplay. I think it'll be less annoying for people. You know, it's just you can reliably play around it. Plus, let's be real here, from what I can see, most of the Mythic Plusers hated it, and I don't think melee players need any more punishment. But there is some sad but potentially hopeful news for the tanks. Blizzard giveth, Blizzard taketh away. Necrotic was nerfed, but then the release candidate build of the patch reverted the nerf. But perhaps they give it again, for Mr. Kyvax took to the forums to say that the nerf was probably a bit too much in PTR, to sort of reinforce that PTR represents active development, to which I'd say, yes, Kyvax, but if you guys could, communicate your intent a little bit more, then maybe these things wouldn't happen. But anyway, he did say that they think that the initial nerf in PTR was a bit, that was too much, but admitted that perhaps it is a bit too oppressive on live. So what's going to happen is that the unCCable level 61 mobs, that they will apply Necrotic every other swing, and according to the blue post, we may even see some tweaks to it on PTR. Look, I'm not a Mythic Pluser, really, but it does seem like some tanks, maybe many tanks, did not enjoy this sort of kiting meta that was perhaps reinforced a bit more with Necrotic. But I don't want to talk about shit I don't know about, so whatever. Hopefully, though, the tanks will come out the other end of this whole journey more happy. Honestly, though, I'd kind of rather see them scrap the generic affixes altogether and then double down on the seasonal affixes, because some of these new seasonal affixes seem genuinely awesome. I'm excited to test out or play, the new one myself, and, maybe do it so that it's all in the seasonal affix, but maybe the seasonal affix kicks in a bit earlier and perhaps it gets more mechanics, at higher keystone brackets. Maybe it's food for thought. What do you think? Final Mythic Plus update for the day, and it's a big one, because they've added an NPC to Oribos who will let you deplete your keystones. Yeah, the community have wanted that for ages, and bam, it's finally here, and I'm thrilled for him. It's not affected me personally, but a bunch of people are happy about this, and I'm happy for them. I mean, it's fantastic that those people have been listened to. It's just a pity they were listened to, on Blizzard time. Blizzard time, Valve time, I already know what one's worse. Probably Valve time. But look, this was a long time coming. People have wanted it for ages. It would have been great ages ago, but hey, we'll take the wins where we can get them, and hopefully it represents a positive change in their thinking. Oh boy, new patch, new cinematics, and, well, we all know the WoW team have been hyping up a massive climax to this patch. We've got a total of around 7.5 minutes of encrypted cinematics that have been found, of course, by the wonderful people at Wowhead. The longest is 3 minutes and 6 seconds. And I think these are going to be massive. We've already seen the Night Warrior Tyrande sort of visual, like a little snippet from that cinematic in Blizzard's promotional material, so that'll be neat. But really, though, it's that big raid finish that we all want to see, and it sure seems like this won't be a N'Zoth-sized disappointment. Expect a big Venus with Anduin, Zovaal, Sylvanas. And even if you don't really like the current story beats, which, fair enough, if you don't, I think, there's pros and there's cons, let's just say that and leave it there. I think we're at least guaranteed for a big moment and a visual feast at the end of the raid. And whether it's the photoreal stuff or the in-game art style stuff, you can't deny that their pre-rendered cinematics are pretty damn epic. And I'm, because of that, pretty excited for this raid's ending. I think it's going to be genuinely exciting. The Sylvanas book delay is a curious thing. So, World of Warcraft Sylvanas is a big book that is supposed to basically give us Sylvanas' story from start to finish? Maybe? Who knows, I guess. We'll see at the end of the raid. Now, it's been delayed to February 2022, and it's been delayed from November 2021. Now, for this, I think the analysis is pretty simple. Shadowlands is probably 3-ish months behind in terms of development cycle, right? I mean, I think that would make sense to a lot of us. So, it's the sort of thing, we've got to assume that this book is supposed to coincide with something for the future of the game, right? I mean, that's why it would have been at a BlizzCon or patch 9.2-ish release date. I think that totally makes sense. And of course, a new BlizzCon line sort of thing that we know will be happening in the first quarter of next year. Well, it just seems like it all lines up and makes sense. Blizzard are a few months behind. That's what COVID does. And that is why I'm expecting patch 9.2 of World of Warcraft to be late January, maybe even early February. Yeah, that is actually what I think based on everything that's been going on. And that's because, of course, it seemed like 9.1 didn't have much pre-production. It seems like, it's been a mad dash to get 9.1 in existence, so they're probably not as far ahead on, 9.2 as they would have liked. That's just that. COVID really was a real bastard for the WoW team to deal with, and that's our situation. As for the book itself, I've already talked about it before. Basically, it seems like the book is giving us the full story from Sylvanas' point of view, and that's basically the thing. Sylvanas has generally been a more enjoyable character for me when we're seeing her point of view, when it's her story. But I think the problem is that the kind of story they want to tell with Sylvanas often rubs up against World of Warcraft being an MMORPG in a way that just kind of leaves people feeling a bit confused and out of the loop. So it will be good that this book will just give us the be-all end-all, the word on Sylvanas, but I think it's the sort of thing where that work should be done in the game, not in a book, as good as I'm sure the book will actually be. Right, let's move on. Right then, LEGO recrafting. Totally seems to be a thing because it's there in the release candidate of this patch. Now, basically, here is your situation. We talked about this on our Saturday stream a little bit ago. You may have seen the clip, but so you understand, right? So your legendaries, of course, your legendary effects are crafted on certain slots. Many players will have crafted their legendaries on the slots with the highest stat budget, because legendaries can be upgraded to be the highest item level, which would mean chest, shoulders, and helm. Now, Shards of Domination are the new raid, sort of extra bit of spice on top of things system in this new patch, and those shards go into domination sockets. And they really are important for your character's power in this patch, quite significantly so. The problem, though, is that, well, the domination sockets are on, in many cases, right, quite a lot of them, basically head, shoulders, chest. Which, of course, are like the Azerite gear slots, which is, giving some people the willies thinking about that. And this is obviously creating a bit of a problem, because there are players who have crafted their legendary items, which meant they spent a lot of in-game gold and a lot of time farming soul ash, only to be in a situation where they actually have to get rid of those legendaries because they need domination sockets in the new raid's gear. And that is an issue for players, because there is no way to, say, scrap your legendary to get some of the raw materials back. Maybe get your soul ash back, get some of your crafting mats back. That's not something that is in the game. And this is not some sort of unintended consequence, because ages ago, Blizzard actually, they made it so that, legendary powers like, say, Serpent Stalker's Trickery, which is currently in my shoulders for my tune, that those are actually craftable on additional slots. So Blizzard definitely knows that this is a problem, and they seemingly have made the choice not to let people refund or something like that their legendaries. And that does mean that as a part of the power progression for your character in this new patch, you're going to be regrinding things you already had in the previous patch. You're going to be doing that for your conduit item levels, and you're going to be doing that for your legendaries. And of course, one of the things that felt really bad about, say, the Azerite gear system was that you got the gear, and then you had to grind up the anima, or the artifact power, right, to get the powers on the Azerite gear that you wanted. But then if you got a new set of gear, you'd actually have to regrind, if that was a higher item level set of gear, you'd have to regrind the same powers your character just had last week. And that obviously feels really bad for players. But here it feels extra bad because, it's not like with Azerite where the goalposts were moved on you. Here, it's more that your past work has been rendered a bit useless. And in my opinion, that is just flat out awful, terrible game design that seems to hold complete contempt for players' time. And to be honest, that it's going on is really rather depressing for me. Now, it's not going to impact my patch playing experience that much, because I only played one toon on launch in one spec, and I knew what my BIS Legos were. But there are some people who are really going to be reamed by this, and it just sucks for them. And it's especially problematic, too, in a situation where, people have got an incentive to, say, spend some, get some WoW token to get the in-game gold to fund their legendaries. And, they're going to feel extra bad when that sort of real-life money earned gold, you know, gets thrown in the bin. So, Blizzard, this isn't something to add in patch 9.1.5. You know, if you add a solution to this in 9.1.5, I'll be really quite angry, actually. Something should be here in this patch, because you don't want a situation, Blizzard, where, you know, you make systems that people invest their time in one patch, and then in the next patch, you kind of tell your players that it was a bit stupid for them to invest time because all their efforts have ended up being wasted. I just think that's a really unhealthy way for the game to go, and I think it trains people not to play the game in the current patch. And that's obviously bad, because we like World of Warcraft, and we want to play it in the current patch. Not good. Right then, time for a lore blast. A bunch of Korthia lore books have been found, and man, they are big. They speak to the cosmic mystery. Now, in our team, me, Jared, and Dakor have been working on this for a good few days. When I was recovering from my hair transplant, you know, spritzing myself and all of that, I was thinking about the first ones and a bunch of cool lore books, but we're not quite ready to give you the full blast. You know, we really want to have stuff be solid when we give it to you. But the TLDR here is that when Ian told me in an interview to zoom out on the cosmology chart, the man was right. Yeah. I mean, of course he's right. He's the director of World of Warcraft. I imagine he knows where the lore is going. So there's that. Now, the other part of this is we found a statue that looks a bit like the Dark Portal hooded figures. That statue whispers to you in a way that almost suggests there's a seventh cosmic power. Maybe it's referring to the first ones. Woo! But also, it looks like one of the dark hooded figures from the Dark Portal and the Altar of Storms and many other places in World of Warcraft. Potentially even, you know, sort of Revendreth and even Warlords of Draenor's Gulvar. I mean, so that's wild. The whole thing is speaking of a seventh sort of cosmic force. The lore books are, you know, hinting at that. So basically, right, between these, the general revelations of us being in the afterlife, and that Dreadlord lore book from last summer, oh man, WoW lore has changed. One could say it changes everything. But hey, doesn't everything in this channel that gets a thumbnail? Okay, less spoilery then. We got the key art for patch 9.1, and it's looking a bit bad for Anduin. He's bang in the middle, Shalamorn in hand, with the spectre of the jailer hanging over him. It's an awesome piece of work. And we know that Anduin is not a raid boss, so I'm expecting major things in either the raid cinematics, the raid RP, or the Covenant questline cinematics. It's going to be exciting. I mean, hopefully. I like Anduin a lot, so I hope they do his character justice here. I really doubt they'll kill him off, though. Speaking of lore, well, the Sanctum of Domination raid titles are interesting. One is Breaker of Chains, and this led to loads of people thinking that we were kind of like breaking Sylvanas' chains, or something like that. Well, it could mean many things. I mean, the jailer, the chains of domination. I mean, look what Sylvanas summoned to, you know, completely kick Bolvar's rear end in. Well, the other thing is there was another title, and that title is the Hall of Fame one, and it's called Famed Bane of the Banshee Queen. So perhaps Sylvanas won't get freed at all. However, remember that the Sylvanas that we know may not be the whole Sylvanas, and I think they maybe will try to make a point. And by the way, you really will have had to have watched our previous lore video because it dives a little deep into some of the folk and fairy tale stuff. But I think Blizzard might try to make a distinction between Sylvanas Banshee Queen and Sylvanas Ranger General. Not saying that's exactly what I think is the best thing to do, but I think that's what they might be doing. So I guess who knows? Okay, to finish this off for today then, I want to tell you what to expect from us for the next while. Right now, we have the largest team we've ever had working on World of Warcraft content. It's actually awesome. You know, while I was spritzing my hair and reading some of those lore books, it was great just, you know, seeing the guys getting some really cool stuff done. You know, it was really, really awesome. And that means that we should have a lot more content for you guys for this patch. Our latest hire in the team, Dakor, you know, he freelanced for a while. He's also my raid leader, but he's a super knowledgeable player. He's a mythic, mythic raider in the game, and he was like pretty, you know, in there with the mythic scene I think he was in a guild that at one point, I think it was a feeder guild to Method that Pilav was in, if memory serves, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, dude knows a shit. So getting a player of that caliber, just being able to, you know, to help us out, right? It's just one of those, you know, one of those big joining of forces, or, you know, that kind of thing where it's just a big win-win situation. And I hope it really is for you guys and that you enjoy the content that we've got coming. So there'll be a few sort of pre-launch videos, you know, what my plans are, some of my thoughts, you know, review stuff of the patch. And then when the patch comes, it's all going to be about getting you guys some awesome lore, some guides that I hope will help you understand what this patch is and enhance your experience, and a bunch of other things. So it should be good. And that's really it for me today. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Be tuned to the channel. There's shit going on and it's going to be fun. All right, have a good day. See you next time.